And I met them for the first time 8 minutes ago, a couple of interesting fellows, and we're all gonna learn something. So, Phil, Floyd, Daniel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today, even though I'm a sub. Daniel Lewandowski is operations manager for Memphis In May. I'm vice president of operations for Memphis In May. Daniel, just briefly about kind of what we do for the organization. The job title kind of speaks to it. We're both in operations. We're responsible for basically everything that happens in Tomley Park to put the Memphis In May Festival on. We pretty much live down in the park for 40 days. We occupy Tomley Park for 40 days. We build the site and we tear it all down when it's done. Daniel's primary responsibilities are he produces the World Championship BBQ Cooking Contest, which is one of our signature events, and he is also the producer of the Great American River Run, which is again one of our signature events. It's a relatively new event. We started it in 2016, so this will be the third year for that. And I do everything else in between. We'll take you back and give you just I'm going to assume that none of you know absolutely anything about Memphis In May, so I'm just going to start from scratch and kind of fill you in on about what the organization is. Memphis In May is a private nonprofit organization. We started officially as Memphis In May in 1977. Actually, the organization was part of the Chamber of Commerce for a couple of years before that, but it was pulled out of the chamber, started as its own organization in 1977. It was pretty much just volunteer driven. The first festival in '77, they did the Beale Street Music Festival, but at that time, Beale Street Music Festival actually occurred on Beale Street. It was very small scale. I think the budget for that event that year was maybe $50,000. Actually, I think that was the whole budget for the entire festival. And the Sunset Symphony. $50,000 budget left over from the '76 bicentennial celebration. 1978, the following year, was the first year for the World Championship BBQ Cooking Contest. And those, with the exception of the Sunset Symphony, Beale Street, and BBQ Contest, are still the two biggest events that we produce. The organization was initially set up, someone had visited the Edinburgh Festival in Scotland. It's an international festival, and they came back to Memphis and had the bright idea of trying to do something a little bit similar, and that was honor add an international element to a festival that was already in existence. So we started honoring a country every year. Really kind of the main purpose behind that was to, at that particular time, in the late '70s, Memphis in particular, but all across the country, downtowns were essentially dying. Everybody had left the downtown core, everybody was moving out to the suburbs. The chamber at the time was almost bankrupt, so they were really looking for ways to kind of promote international business development in Memphis. The first five, it's no coincidence that the first 5 countries that Memphis In May honored were the 5 top trading partners with the U.S. at the time. The very first country that was honored was Japan. Some say it was a result of Memphis In May honoring Japan. Some say not so much, but sharp manufacturing in Memphis. Whether or not it came to Memphis because of Memphis In May, you can make that all day long, but it happened around the same time. Again, the festival was developed to increase economic development in Memphis, but also to promote Memphis to people outside of Memphis. promote Memphis culture and to educate people in Memphis about other cultures outside of Memphis. Memphis culture, if you think about Memphis, if you mention Memphis to anybody outside of Memphis, they're going to basically think of two things if they pay attention to anything, and that's either going to be music, more often than not, it's Elvis, and barbecue. Memphis has a long and strong music heritage. Beale Street Music Festival, obviously, you know, when it began, tapped into that heritage. Stax, Soulfield. We actually did a staff outing to Stax last week because probably about 5 or 6. We've got a small staff. There's only 14 people on staff, but close to half of them had never been to Stax. So we did an outing to Stax, and during the little tour, as we're walking around and everything, our president and CEO, Jim Holt, you know, just kind of offhandedly mentions how many artists from Stax have actually performed at Beale Street Music Festival. I mean, it's go down the list, and it's 20-something artists who recorded for Stax have all played Beale Street Music Festival, some of them multiple times. So when you think about Memphis, and you think about Memphis in May, you think of music. You also think of barbecue. Memphis is, anybody here from Texas? Nobody from Texas? Okay, good. Because Texas people do not know what barbecue is. If you go to Texas, their idea of barbecue is beef. It's brisket, or it's sausage, or it's chicken. That is not barbecue. I can say this because I produced the BBQ Contest for 7 years, and I'm from Memphis. So Memphis barbecue is pork barbecue. World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest actually is according to Guinness Book of World Records, the world's largest pork barbecue cooking contest. That's based on the amount of volume of pork that's cooked and consumed on site. And throughout the city, you know, there's over 100 barbecue restaurants in Memphis. Memphis is barbecue. The development of the festival, again, as I said, 1978 was the first World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest. First grand champion, Miss Bessie Louise Catton. I think total prize money for the very first barbecue contest was $500. Prize purse for our contest last year was
$117,000.
$117,000. So it's grown quite a bit. I think they had less than 50 contestants that first year. Now we have about 236 competitors at the barbecue contest. Beale Street Music Festival originally was held in Handy Park, and it was at the end of Beale Street, and some of the clubs that were open at Beale Street all the time. And Sunset Symphony was on Mississippi River Park. Sunset Symphony went away. 2015 was the last year, because 2016 is when we started the Great American River Run and 901 Fest to replace that event. When you mention Memphis in May, more often than not, most people they understand that we honor a different country. Pretty much any conversation that I have with somebody and they find out that I work for Memphis in May, the conversation goes like this: "Oh, you work for Memphis in May? Yeah. Who are you honoring this year?" Czech Republic. Oh, cool. End of conversation. There's very little understanding of the international aspect of our festival, which is really a big part of our mission. We honor a different country every year, but we have a huge educational component that's part of that international program. We do a student exchange program. We send students from Memphis and Shelby County, I think it's like 11 students, over to the honored country for a week or 2 weeks, and they send students over here as well. We developed a curriculum guide that's focused on the international series culture that gets distributed to Memphis and Shelby County schools. So hopefully, if you grew up in Memphis City School System or the Shelby County School System, at the age that you are now, you've got about 20 years worth of, or 15 years worth of exposure to our education program in the honored countries. Even though we've been around for 41 years, we've honored 37 different countries. Our 20th anniversary in 1996, we didn't honor a specific country. We honored all past countries. There are a couple of countries that have been honored more than once. Japan's been done twice, for sure, I know.
Canada's one of
Canada's been done twice, but we've done 37 different foreign countries. 2018, it is the Czech Republic. Throughout the years, there have been a lot of different programs added to Memphis In May umbrella. Once upon a time, for a lot of years, we had a sanctioned event program where if you had an event that you wanted to put on during May and you wanted to help have Memphis In May help promote your event, cross promotion, you pay us a fee and we officially sanction your event. At one point in time, we had over 200 sanctioned events going on during the month of May. We kind of got away from that in the late 90s to focus on our signature events. Again, Bill Street Music Festival, BBQ Contest, and Sunset Symphony at the time. But again, the focus of the festival is music, barbecue, and the setting, which is the river. I'm going to pause here for 1 second, and I should have said this. If you guys have questions while I'm talking, please feel free, raise your hand, ask a question. Yes, ma'am.
Where does the money come from, like the prize money? Where's that, like sponsors or?
The prize money for the barbecue contest? Well, I mean, it's all the money comes out of the same pot. We've got a $9.5 million budget,
That's what I was
but
asking,
but the team entry fees that teams pay, the revenue that we generate from that more than covers, what the prize money is. But raise over $2 million out of the $9.5 million budget. $2 million of that comes from sponsorship. We get in excess of $3 million. I think our gross revenue from ticket sales from Beale Street Music Festival last year was like $3.7 million, which sounds like a lot. But our talent budget was almost $3 million. So out of the $9.5 million budget, and last year we had record ticket sales as far as ticket gross. We really had not quite perfect weather, but as good weather as you could hope for during the month of May. We had record sponsorship revenues. We had record food and beverage sales. At the end of the day, we netted $90,000.
Okay, that's like $1.
Yeah, we are a nonprofit organization as well, so everything is based off of our budget that is set every fiscal year. So that's where all that pool is coming from. And with the prize money, Cattleman's Barbecue Sauce also is a partner with us, and if the teams, when they go up on stage, a lot of times you'll hear them thank Cattleman's for all their support and all that. So, and that's because every team that thanks Cattleman's publicly from stage, Cattleman's doubles, or they match our prize money for that. So that's where some of the prize money comes from as well.
But the $117,000 is strictly our prize money. That doesn't count what Cattleman's matches for teams.
And last question, what's the entry fee like cost? Curious.
It's based on the team's booth size.
Okay.
So we have varying booth sizes all the way from 18 by 20 feet that go all the way up to 34 by 54 feet. And that price range is everywhere from the smallest being $675 all the way up to $5,000.
Okay.
So That's just for their space, and then of course you've got tenting, electrical, flooring. If they're
Ancillary
buying
contests.
all the ancillary contests they're entering, if they're buying beer for their friends and all the meat. So I mean, a lot of these teams will spend upwards to about $20,000 to be in this contest.
And does that include the 675, is that for the patio teams as well?
$575 for patio.
We've got there's the professional division of the barbecue contest, which is about 200 teams, and then we have about 35 sort of amateur teams that we call patio porters. They compete in their own separate division, but that's kind of, it's either, one way to look at it is the poor man's way to compete in the barbecue contest, or if you just want to go and party and not spend a whole lot of money, which is
That's most of them.
a lot, yeah, that's most of them. But it's also really supposed to funnel teams up into competition.
Yeah.
Say that again?
Basically, the developmental to get
Yeah,
your way in.
exactly.
Yes,
Yes, they're
that's-
limited
yep.
to cooking on a 15 square foot grill surface, and they can only cook spare loin ribs. And so, yeah, it's kind of a practice zone to move them up to.
So they can learn Memphis In May rules and all that stuff.
And there's a lot of teams, like I've already have 2 teams that are signed up that were patio teams last year that have moved up to the bigger zones.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you choose the country you honor, and how long do you plan ahead?
There's a committee, it's called the International Selection Committee. And typically they'll start approaching, or they'll start drafting a list of potential countries about 3 years out. And we try and rotate geographic areas from year to year. So 2.5 to 3 years out, they'll kind of get a list together. Then they'll send out letters of interest to the embassies. There's certain expectations that we have from the other country as far as we don't ask them for any monetary commitment, but we do need their help in helping us secure agricultural exhibits and help us navigate. Some countries are easier to deal with than others, so everybody's got their own weird kind of quirky politics. Depending upon that level of interest, it gets narrowed down to like 3 that gets voted on, and that's 2 years in advance. So we're already working on 2019. Actually, we've already made a determination of who it's going to be for 2019. So, yes, sir.
Coming back to Music Fest, I know many people have their requests for artists. Have you ever thought about adding artists just for a specific country? Like, for example, bringing in a Korean pop band, if you ever, under South Korea.
Yeah, we've got, so actually in between the Beale Street Music Festival and the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest is our International Week, where we actually bring either, sometimes they're musicians, sometimes they're performers of like theatrical performers or whatnot, but we bring performers from that honor country to Memphis to perform during that week. Most of the time that takes place at the Orpheum, we've had it there before, and they'll also do performances in various schools around the area. But this typically, we honor them specifically during that week, and I think we've had a couple from honor countries play Beale Street.
It just,
but,
a lot of it depends on, just like any artist, availability. Whether or not they're available, how much money they want.
I kind of just experienced that with our own event we had last week actually. So I understand. I just asked the question because I thought I'm curious because I've seen the list of people, what people want versus.
And it's also based on, you got to think the notoriety of the band. Specifically, a band that might be like chart topping in Korea or India or whatnot. Nobody might, like, people here don't know who they are. So that also plays a factor in kind of where they are in the lineup as well.
But we do, as Daniel said, we do try and do that for Beale Street Music Festival, and we I've done it on a few occasions. Right now, I can't. I think we had a Russian band one year. Actually, last year I think we had a Colombian band that nobody probably knows who they are, but so it does happen. The 2017 Memphis In May Beale Street Music Festival. Again, anybody who's been there, or if you haven't been there, it's a three-day event, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have 3 main stages, a blues tent. Last year we had some of the bigger names. We had Kings Leon, Soundgarden. Soundgarden, that was actually one of the last performances by Soundgarden before Chris Cornell left this earth. Snoop Dogg, Sturgill Simpson, Jill Scott. We have about 60 bands over the 3 days. About a dozen or so of those are blues acts. The rest are on the main stage. Our international salute to Columbia last year, again, as Daniel said, the week between Beale Street Music Festival and the World Championship BBQ Cooking Contest is our international week, where we really focus on the international programming. Last year, when we saluted Columbia, we had 44 different programs happening during the month of May. We didn't cram all of those into that week. International programs were going on throughout the month of May, but there are some things that we do specifically during that week. We have an international musical or theatrical performance last year with a band called, and they were really good.
Something.
It's late. The name is the name's later on in the slide presentation.
They were really good.
At the Orpheum, there are art exhibits. There's photography, sculpture. There was a film series of Colombian films that was shown at a few theaters around Memphis. World Championship BBQ Cooking Contest, again, 236 competing teams. Great American River Run. When the decision was made to stop producing the Sunset Symphony, we really couldn't just leave Memorial Day weekend as a dead weekend. So I think it was Jim's idea, honestly, for the Great American River Run. It's a 5K and a half marathon. This is the 3rd year. Ultimately, and the race course is downtown. You go along the river, out on Mud Island. Ultimately, the goal for that event, as we continue to grow it, is to be able to make the course go over both of the bridges into Arkansas, the I-40 bridge and the I-55, or the DeSoto Bridge and the Old Bridge. That's a long process because we're dealing with federal authorities, we're dealing with 2 state governments, Tennessee and Arkansas. But that ultimately, we're hoping that in the next year or 2 to be able to get that route. Yes, ma'am.
How much does Snoop Dogg cost y'all to like perform? I'm just curious.
More than he's.
Are you want to tell us that or no? Like, can you tell us how much he charged?
I can't, but I can tell you it's a lot.
Is it?
Actually, no. Snoop, I'm not a Snoop Dogg fan as far as like music, but Snoop puts on an incredible show. It's a great show.
How many of you guys were actually? Did any of you guys attend Beale Street Music Festival this last year?
Never had.
Never had.
It's the first major thing I did out in public is actually outside that. The first thing I did was this year was the first ever convention. That's why I kind of asked about the connection.
Cool.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that too. It always happens like right before finals week. So like most students are cramming for exams. Like I do want to go, but at the same time I gotta pass. You know what I'm saying?
You guys have a different experience at college than I had. I actually went to University of Memphis 1 year. It was the last year that it was Memphis State. It's like 92, 93. I took 36 hours and I passed 9. I had to transfer back to my old school. But I'm glad that you're studying instead of going to the There's always the barbecue contest.
Or come to 901 Fest.
And yes, 901 Fest. Since the race is really a short event, as late as we do the race in the year, which I'm not a runner. Daniel knows more about it than I do, but once you start getting into summer, races don't really happen that much just because of
It's too hot.
It's too hot. So we do this race really early in the morning. It starts at registrations like 5:30 a.m. The race starts at 7, and it's over by noon. So we also do 901 Fest, which is, I kind of describe it as a scaled down version of Beale Street Music Festival. It's one day. We still have 4 stages. They're smaller stages, but it's really more focused on Memphis artists, Memphis food, Memphis artisans. It's more of a family-friendly event than Beale Street Music Festival. And then we do fireworks at the end of 901 Fest, like we used to do at Sunset Symphony. Beale Street Music Festival, again, 3 outdoor stages, blues tent, and also a blues shack. It's local, solo acoustic artists. Last year we had close to 90,000 attend over the 3 days. We had $3.7 million gross admissions. We get patrons from, and this has been the case for many years, from all 50 states. We also get visitors from 14 foreign countries. Our ticketing agency, we used Ticketmaster for years. We switched to Ticketfly 2 years ago. So, they provide us all this data as far as geography and age and demographic info. Memphis In May is consistently globally ranked in terms of festivals. There was an article in Fodor, which is a travel magazine, and it ranked for 2018 a list of, I think it was like 30 destinations that you had to go to in 2018. Memphis ranked number 6 on that list. Number 5 was, like, number 6 was number 7 was like Armenia.
Yeah.
And number 5 was, I don't know, Turkestan, or like some real exotic place, and then there's like Memphis. And the reason why specifically the reason why Memphis was listed on that list was for Memphis in May, during May. Economic impact, the $55 million, that is just for this event. Every year we release our annual report in August, and we do, I don't know if we do it every year, but we've done it the last 2 years at least that I know, an economic impact study. Memphis In May produces, last year, produced a $112 million economic impact for the city of Memphis. $55 million of that was from Beale Street Music Festival. It generates 92.5% hotel occupancy for, I think that's across the board. I don't think that's just downtown. I think that's just Memphis in general. Tax generation for the city of Memphis, sales tax, room tax, $1.7 million. Kings of Leon this year, we got a call.
It's like a month out.
Not even that, it was like 2 weeks before Beale Street Music Festival. We were already in the park getting set up about Kings of Leon. They were playing, they were already playing anyway. They wanted to do a video shoot. And I'm gonna cheat here for 1 second. I'll look at my notes. I had to write down the name of the program. It's a series on PBS. Landmarks Live in Concert. And it's a series where they get artists to play in iconic locations. Like there's an episode where the Foo Fighters play at the Acropolis in Greece. I think the last episode of the season is Prophets of Rage playing at the Stone Pony in Asbury Park, New Jersey, which is like an iconic club in New Jersey. The Kings of Leon, they wanted to play Beale Street Music Festival. A lot of people don't know it, but out of the three brothers, two of the brothers are actually from Memphis. And they talk about how attending Beale Street Music Festival inspired them to actually become musicians. And their dream one day was to play Beale Street Music Festival. They did it last year and they filmed it. It's going to be broadcast in December. There's no firm date for it yet. We keep asking, but they can't give it to us. But check it out, PBS. It's called Landmarks Live in Concert. And you'll see Kings of Leon and you'll see our wonderful event. Can anybody tell me who this is? Who is it?
With Khalifa.
Okay. That wasn't a quiz. I was just asking.
Yeah.
You know what?
Hey,
What percentage of your ticket sales are locals and what percentage are tourists, and how do you plan the event around? Or what effect does that have on your plan?
Say the second part of your question.
And what effect does that have on the planning of the festival?
Over half of our attendees for Beale Street Music Festival come from outside a 50-mile radius of Memphis. Actually, I think it's closer to 2/3. So really, we're only getting about a third of our attendees from the Memphis metropolitan area. How does it affect programming? I can't say that it really does. We book national acts with a national draw. That's how we book it. We're not. If I'm understanding your question or answering it correctly.
I mean, does it have any effect on the genres of music you're looking for, or do you just go all over the board?
I mean, we kind of go all over the board, and honestly, I think that's really one of the appeal for me, the appeal I think for Beale Street Music Festival. I mean, music festivals are a dime a dozen. I mean, you can't sling a dead cat without hitting a music festival, and they're all very genre specific. I mean, there's EDM festivals and hippie festivals and whatever, but they're very genre specific. Beale Street Music Festival, again, going back to the lineup, if you went last year, if you're a country fan, you saw Sturgill Simpson. If you're a 90s kid like me, you saw Soundgarden. If you're into R&B and hip hop, you saw Jill Scott, Wiz Khalifa, and Grizz, and Snoop Dogg. So we do make a conscious effort to kind of put it all over the place, as opposed to just doing one specific kind of act. But that decision is conscious, not based on where ticket buyers are coming from. It's just kind of a philosophical decision on booking internally. Beale Street, there's Snoop.
and that's the production trailer from them.
For the, this is the
For the
video
PBS
truck
broadcasting.
for the Kings of Leon shoot, and I'm just gonna assume that the smoke here is from a hate machine on stage. International Week, again, 44 cultural, educational, economic development programs. Herencia de Teniki, that was the band that played at the Orpheum Theater. And in addition to their public performance at the Orpheum Theater, they also do, it's a free private performance for Memphis and Shelby County school children. So they'll do like a matinee show during the day. School kids come in, there's no cost. And then they'll do an evening show it's a ticketed event for the public. Again, exhibits, art, photography, sculpture. We had exhibits at the Mississippi River Museum, Central Library, National Civil Rights Museum, Jewish Community Center, National Ornamental Metal Museum, the film aspect of it. Again, we had Colombian films showing at the Malco Ridgeway 4, Crosstown Arts Center, Memphis Botanic Garden, lectures on art and architecture, participation in the Latino Memphis Festival. We also do a gala, international gala. Typically, it's at the Peabody. That's really where we kind of host and honor the ambassador or whatever dignitary happens to be coming to Memphis from the honored country at the gala. The attendee this year was Francisco Santos, former Colombian vice president. We also had Andre Gonzalez, who's ambassador to the OAS. Juan Camacho, who's a big deal Colombian chef. He did a dinner at the Peabody. We do business. On the business side of it, Memphis in May doesn't actually, we're not in the business of business development or economic development, even though promoting that is part of our mission. The Chamber of Commerce that's what their business is. Our role is really more of a facilitator. We'll make introductions to people. Again, producing a curriculum guide and classroom tools. We do this is one of the contests that we do every year. Obviously, we produce a poster for the Beale Street Music Festival. George Hunt has been doing it for 25 years. He's a local artist, very well known and respected. We do a fine arts poster every year, but we also do a children's poster. It's a contest that's open to, again, to students in the Memphis-Shelby County School District. And we will get literally hundreds of submissions from all age groups. It's all open across the board. And we will select, we've got a committee, they select a winner, and we'll have an unveiling for them. We actually produce prints of the children's poster. It's a limited run, but we still produce it, so that's kind of a cool thing that if your child is an artist, that's pretty cool. The BBQ Contest, again, 236 competition teams. We get teams competing from 26 states and 6 foreign countries. We get, usually how it has happened, we will host or we'll have an international team each year. More often than not, there's not necessarily an existing, there's not like a Czech Republic barbecue team, but there may be a chef from the Czech Republic that we'll bring over and put them with a team to kind of host them as the competing international team. And as that has happened over the years, we get teams returning from past honored countries. And that's where I know we've got a team from Canada, we have a team from the UK.
There's a Mexican team, there's a team from Norway, there's
That's
a team
right.
from Denmark, and
yep.
Japan. That all still come back.
So on top of the expense of just cooking at the contest in general, I mean, they're coming over from Japan, the Netherlands, wherever. So it's not cheap for them to do that. The contest, competition, pork rib, pork shoulder, whole hog. Over 16 tons of pork is cooked and consumed. Again, the prize money. And we use over, it says nearly, but we use over 400 judges. In order to judge at the contest at Memphis in May, especially, and particularly since teams are spending as much money as they are to compete, and because there's so much prize money available, you really have to run it as a serious competition, and it is a serious competition. judges for Memphis In May. They have to go through a judges training class, about 8 hours. You do one every year. Just completed one last month. And you go through the class, and once you complete the class, you're trained. Then you have to actually judge 2 contests to become certified. And we try and use only certified judges, as much as possible, only certified judges for the barbecue contest. Danish national barbecue team, that wasn't last year, I don't think, or was it?
I mean, they do have a team that comes.
They do have a
but they
team.
went down as well.
Attendance, a lot of people don't really think of the barbecue contest as big an event as the Beale Street Music Festival, but we actually, and that's 63,721 attendance over 4 days. That doesn't include the competitors. 236 teams, you figure
They
there's
each have 15, at least 10, like, when they sign up, they get 15 team wristbands, so it's 15 people at least per 236 teams.
So
you're talking another.
Yeah, I mean, it's close to 70,000 or better in attendance over 4 days. The barbecue contest has an economic impact of $37.7 million, and tax generation for the city of Memphis, $1.1 million. This guy right here, this is Grant Braden. He's our social media manager at Memphis In May, and stuck him in an Elvis costume to greet people as they were.
Actually, he ran the 5K.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he ran the 5K in that.
In the costume?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, the Great American River Run, new event that we started in 2016, half marathon and 5K. Any of y'all are runners? We actually
Registration opens
tomorrow. You can do it online. Again, as I mentioned, our goal eventually is to take our course across both bridges. But last year we had participants from 33 states and 4 foreign countries. Prize money, $6,500 in prize money. Doesn't sound like a lot. We had close to, if not 2,000 people who signed up to race last year, which honestly isn't bad for a second-year race. Last year, the first year, 901 Fest and Great American River Run happened on the same day. GAR was first, and then we rolled into 901 Fest. Last year, we split them into 2 separate events on 2 separate days. So we had 901 Fest actually on Saturday, and we did the Great American River Run on Sunday. We had a storm come through about 11:30 the night of 901 Fest, after 901 Fest was over. Actually, it hit us about a half hour after we had cleared the park. Well, you guys may or may not remember, or if you were in Memphis, anybody know what Hurricane Elvis is? Or what Hurricane Elvis was? Okay. This was Hurricane Priscilla. We got hit, that storm, we got hit in the park with winds in excess of 80 miles an hour. It completely destroyed our site. That was at 11:30 that night. Daniel and I, it wasn't just us, actually our whole site group, worked all night getting the site cleaned up so that we could have the race, the next day. We had, like I said, we had 4 stages for 901 Fest. One of those stages we used for the awards presentation. Every single one of those stages got damage beyond operation during the storm, so we didn't have a stage for that. Pretty much every tent on the site was obliterated. The scab, or the entry tower that goes over Riverside Drive, had been lifted up off its leg and sat back down. It was about to collapse. We had to get that down to make it safe for people to run across it. A semi-truck had gotten blown over on the Hernando DeSoto Bridge. So traffic was stopped at Hernando de Soto Bridge, and this is, by the time this happened, this was like midnight, 1 a.m. They were diverting traffic to Riverside Drive while we were down there trying to get our, because normally Riverside Drive, the street is closed, and we have barricades up to stop traffic. All the barricades got blown away. So, you know, we're out there on forklifts, golf carts, walking around, trying to clean up the mess, and there's like traffic just coming down Riverside Drive. We had 3 ambulances on calls come down to Riverside Drive. So it was, that was an interesting experience, but we still managed to have the race.
We had 1,500 people.
We had
still
15,
raced.
yeah, out of the 2,000 participants, we still had 1,500 people race, and the race only started an hour later than it was supposed to start. And then I think by the time we got done and went to sleep, we had been up for
It's like 34 hours.
34 hours. 901 Fest, again, new event started in 2016, focusing on local artists, merchants, and vendors, again, more of a family-friendly event. Always forget about the air show. We do have an air show, and then fireworks finale. Any other questions about anything so far? Again, Memphis In May is an organization. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, have been since our inception. We receive no direct funding from the city or the county. Now we do get in-kind services. We don't pay for police overtime from MPD or from Shelby County Sheriff's Department. If we did, that would probably feed up another $9 million in our budget. On event days, we have over 250 law enforcement officers from MPD and from Shelby County on site at any given time. And that's just on site. Then there's also, you know, the Office of Emergency Management, there's the gang unit, there's the TAC unit, there's Special Operations Squad. You know, all told, we probably have 400 law enforcement officers in and around the festival. If we had to pay overtime for all those guys, there's no way we could continue to function. Our budget, again, $9.5 million annual budget. We have a 19-member board of directors. This is a nonprofit. It's a volunteer board. Board members, their terms are for 3 years. There's a new chairman of the board or president each year. But we do have a 14-member full-time staff. Jim Holt, CEO of the organization. We have myself, Daniel. We have a VP of programming. We have a VP of marketing, director of marketing, VP of sponsorship, and our marketing department, programming department, and administrative staff. It's, you know, as much as and not to downplay the role that volunteers play. We have over 1,000 volunteers that help make the festival happen. But I think it often gets overlooked how this festival happens with 14 people. It's especially considering how large the events that we do, how diverse the events that we do, and the time frame that we have to do it. Anybody can do a music festival. 3-day music festival, there's nothing to it. Building a 3-day music festival, tearing it down, and then building a barbecue contest within 2 weeks. That's the challenge, but we do it every year. Again, over 1,000 volunteers. We have 17 different volunteer committees, which Daniel actually, he brought some literature if anybody's interested in volunteer opportunities. We have, if you'd like to get your hands dirty, we have a production committee that helps build assets that we use down in the festival. hospitality committee, volunteer services,
Transportation.
transportation. The BBQ Contest has 5 committees alone.
Yep.
So if you're volunteer oriented, we have some info up here. Again, 65 to 70 annual programs, events, and activities. The majority of our events obviously are during months of May, but we do have some events throughout the year that are tied to those events. February, I think our target date for announcing the lineup for the Beale Street Music Festival for 2018 is middle of February, like February 21st, 22nd. Usually when we announce the lineup, we'll unveil the George Hunt painting and the poster. That's included in one of those events and activities. 21% of our funding comes from sponsorship and donors. That's $2.1 million last year from 143 different companies in 2017. Sorry. This part of the presentation is really part of another presentation about trends in the future of events. I can, and this is really more marketing focused, but I'll take this opportunity to kind of speak to that from an operational standpoint. Everyone in here, I'm sure, has heard or aware of what happened in Las Vegas, the MGM. Before that, it was bombing in Manchester. Before that, it was a van attack in London. Going all the way back to the Pulse nightclub shooting, the theater in Paris. From an operational standpoint, the future for events really comes down to making it a safe environment and experience as possible. And unfortunately, because it's taking events like this to get that in people's minds, but fortunately that it actually is happening, because this is something that really, in this industry in particular, the philosophy has always been show must go on at any cost. We have seen not just from terrorist attacks, but also accidents. Stage collapse in Indiana. Actually, that got the most publicity, but there's stage collapses all over the time. There are people who get hurt. This is one of the most dangerous industries that you can work in. It's third behind law enforcement and the military. We're finally getting to the point where safety and security, not just for people who attend events, but people who work events, is really coming into focus. So from an operational standpoint, my key to success, make sure at the end of your event, nobody's dead, either by accident or otherwise. Trends and festivals in general, again, other than the safety thing, sponsorship, out of that $9.5 million budget, again, $2.1 million, that is, sponsorship is important for us in particular because you can't count on ticket sales. We may, and whenever we announce the Beale Street Music Festival lineup every year, the response is pretty much always the same. Half the people love it, think it's the greatest lineup ever. Half the people hate it. You can't please everybody. But there are a lot of factors that affect ticket sales. Lineup is one, weather is one, the economy. The economy probably more than anything. So you really have to rely on money that you can count on, and that is sponsorship money. I actually joke a lot with our VP of sponsorship. As fast as, we have staff meetings every week, and he announces, I've got this sponsor lined up, this sponsor lined up, this much money is coming in. It's like, great, now I can start spending all that money that we raise, because it costs a lot of money to put on an event. Broadening of program content, people want more than just a band on the stage, or people cooking barbecue. So stunts and interactivity, VIP treatment. This isn't anything new necessarily, but VIP experiences are a big deal. You pay a stupid amount of money for VIP treatment and patron engagement. Sponsorship, again, I'm not going to get too deep into this because I'm not the sponsorship guy, but once upon a time, you could go sell a sponsorship to somebody, and everybody wants a return on their investment, but it was really about impressions. Like really more attendance. How many people are going to be at your event? That honestly is not enough anymore. So sponsors are really looking for more than just attendance numbers. They really want some creative ideas and how to present their product or service, whatever, on site. Example of that, Gibson Guitar we had as a sponsor when they created a backstage lounge for Beale Street artists. There's a picture of that there. Idea being, somebody backstage, they really dig this guitar, they buy the guitar, they get it gifted to them by Gibson. They show up on a live performance, playing that guitar, and everybody who wants to be a guitar player sees it and goes out and they buy a ton of Gibson guitars. American Crew was a sponsor. They offered haircuts at Beale Street Music Festival. Sailing to Rum offered free tattoos. Big Green Egg is a big sponsor for the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest, and they helped us. We added a new element last year at the barbecue contest called Barbecue Alley, which was really more of a public component where if you come down to the barbecue contest, you don't know anybody, you can participate or feel like you're participating more in the event. Again, sponsors are looking for unique experiences. Budweiser's a big sponsor for us at the Beale Street Music Festival. They're sponsored month long, but they have a big presence at the music festival. They bring this huge trailer for an activation in a VIP area for their customers and clients. Chaco, they brought a taco truck, Spin Street. I think Spin Street was actually kind of new last year at Beale Street Music Festival. They set up a booth, and they had a store, you could buy vinyl, but they also they worked out a deal with some artists at Beale Street Music Festival out there performed, and before they performed, they would do signings in the tent. Social media assets, offering, again, most people you're looking at on your phone or your tablet or whatever, so sort of engaging people with deals is another thing that sponsors are looking for. Uber, we do have a partnership with Uber. We did have last year. I'm assuming that we're going to have a relationship with them again to come down for any event, really, not just Beale Street Music Festival, but barbecue too.
I can add something on that. Digital.
Do what?
I can add something with the digital side of it. In the racing world, like most of the time when the races, the participants go to pick up their package, you get your goodie bag full of just pamphlets and ads and stuff from various vendors. It's become very common now to actually do digital race bags, where people will actually go download an app where it's got all of those same promotional materials and codes right there on their phones. So that's just another example of how the digital space is really starting to take over in more ways, and then also how that benefits you as an event, because that cuts down on your print materials and print costs that you got to go get to put in here, and also the time and labor to actually stuff all these bags. So it's another kind of digital content that's starting to grow out there?
I know I'm hit time, so I'll wrap this up real quick, and if anybody's got any other questions, we can take some questions. Program content stunts. This is from the BBQ Contest. We had sauce wrestling this year. This is from the Miss Piggy Idol Contest, and we have a race called the Big Hog Run. It's a 0.2K race. If you've been down to the festival, photo ops, Instagram with picture frame and 901. VIP treatment. We do have VIP programs for Beale Street Music Festival and Barbecue Contest. Patron engagement. If you go down for Beale Street Music Festival, George Hunt, the artist, is always down there. We have a tent, and he's down there signing posters, which is a cool thing. That's Spin Street signing. And that is Memphis in May. Any other questions?
Any questions for our guests? And we're going to get out of here in about 45 seconds. Volunteers, should I see you after the...
Volunteers, and I did forget to mention, we're also internship opportunities, whether it be in our programming department, marketing department, operations. If you're interested in exploring an internship at Memphis in May, we've got some information up there for that as well.
So internship, volunteers, stick around, grab a business card. I'll take my attendance sheet and I'll take your homework up here. And let's hear it for our guests. You folks are going to give